Hi, I'm Dylan. I'm an astrologer, tarot professional, numerologist, and a feng shui master. Last month, I used tarot to talk about Singapore politics and our new Prime Minister. Today, let's talk about something a little bit more fun. Television. The latest K-drama that arrived on Netflix last month really made me do a double take. It's not just that the premise of the story was riveting and rather original, but it really seems uncanny that the flawed numbers that each character is assigned to seem to echo their flawed personalities. I seriously do not think this is by chance. In fact, I suspect that the producers may actually have hired a numerologist as their screenwriter. Now, in this light, it may not be surprised that the producers did not give each character a name, but instead refers to each individual based on the floors they live in. For instance, the character who lived on the first floor is called first floor. The character on the second floor is called second floor, and so on. Now, using numerology, I'm going to show you how it explains the way the floors are assigned to each character on the 8th show. Now, how numerology works is like this. Using your birth date, if you are born with a certain number, you are meant to embody the virtues, strengths, and opportunities of your number. For example, if you are born on the 8th of June, you are meant to embody the positive characteristics of the number 8. But if you do not live your life according to these specific positive virtues, you become the negative expression of these very same numbers that are your birthright and who you are meant to be. Let me quickly go through some of these characters and you'll begin to see what I mean. Of course, over here, we are not using the birth dates of the characters. Instead, we are using the floor numbers that each of them are assigned. But the numerological principles are the same. The character 8th floor was chosen to stay on the 8th floor, and hence, she is personified by the number 8. According to numerology, people with the number 8 are practical, organized, and business savvy. They are also efficient and skillful at mobilizing resources. They are the so-called producers in society just because they are so good at producing material things that the world needs. But when 8th floor first appears, she is the ultimate negative expression of the number 8. She is impractical, manipulative, and she exploits people and resources every chance she gets for her own selfish benefit. Instead of being productive, she only consumes. She's a spendthrift, a wastrel, and very greedy. She has none of the economic skills just mentioned, and she doesn't even care to learn them or work hard for anything at all. With easy access to every material possession in her reach, she refuses to share anything, and she manipulates these material goods to keep all the power to herself while the rest suffers. As each episode progresses, she realizes how much power she has and how much nonsense she can get away with, and she does, allowing herself to eventually become a tyrant, a dictator, and a despot. The number 7 in numerology typically denotes someone who is mysterious, charming, and attractive in the charismatic sense. Such a person is also intelligent, introverted, and deeply philosophical, and sometimes even to the point of being spiritual. However, when 7th floor appears, he immediately looks and feels different and difficult. Difficult to get to know, difficult to understand, and difficult to read. This is because when negatively expressed, the 7s have difficulty explaining themselves, and hence they tend to be isolated and withdrawn. While it may be true that the 7s are highly intellectual, they find it challenging to connect emotionally with people, which makes others feel like such a person could be engaging in mind games even when they are not, hence making a 7 even more misunderstood and difficult to trust. In the show, 7th floor is an enigma. He often seemed dispassionate, aloof, and cold, and he gives the others the impression that he was flip-flopping between the upper floors who hold the power and the lower floors who were progressively suppressed, even though this wasn't his intention. And yet, during the talent show segment, his performance was surprisingly original and strangely entertaining, which is very in line with the unexpected nature of the number 7. 6 in numerology is a loving number. 6s are upholders of family values, traditions, and community togetherness. If you ever have a father, a mother, a brother who is a 6, consider yourself very lucky, because 6s are society's providers, protectors, nurturers, and teachers. The number 6 has a caring and giving nature and gives others a sense of love and security. However, the appearance of 6th floor is a rude shock. It's the complete opposite of what a 6 represents. He is violent, unfeeling, and unsympathetic. He is a petty tyrant ignorant, prone to using violence to resolve anything. The next 3 characters follow this similar analysis. When fifth flaw first appears, she looks conservative, almost frumpy, and older than her actual age. She is sexually repressed and is often the one cautioning the others not to do anything new or risky, which is so not the person that the number 5 in numerology represents, who should be dynamic, freedom-seeking, boundary-pushing, and being adventurous. Now, how about fourth flaw? She is disorganized, flighty, ditzy, unreliable, and morally weak, which is the total opposite of the number 4, which represents someone who should be structured, steadfast, rational, logical, and morally upright. And needless to say, when it comes to the second flaw character, who is a masculine, gangsterly construction worker who is tough-talking, rough-talking, and abrasive, she again is totally going against what a true number 2 in numerology really represents, which is being soft and gentle, intuitive, and driven by emotions, and innately sensitive to other people's needs. And now we come to the most important character of the show, the character third flaw, whose natural goodness is the moral center of the entire production. And this is in line with the meaning of the number 3 he represents, for the 3 is all about the purity of the soul and childlike goodness. In fact, the entire show is narrated by him, as though the show set is a microcosm of the world as seen through the eyes of a child. But everything stops there, because if the number 3 is also about creativity and creative expression, he is so not. During the talent show segment, his dance item was the least creative and so painful to watch, and in tandem scores the lowest points for the team. Alas, we come to the final character on the show. Now, in numerology, the number 1 represents an individual who should be self-assured, self-reliant, independent, self-confident, and possesses leadership capabilities. But when first flaw appears, he is completely the opposite of all that the number 1 represents. The character first flaw is a cripple and a failed clown. First flaw is self-deprecating, lacks self-confidence, and is quite reliant on others to help him move around. He is so debased that his room is used to store all the other flaws, rubbish, and waste matter. Now that we have gone through all 8 characters, you may ask, hey, maybe this is just a coincidence that their personalities just happen to match these numbers. But if you observe the way the story is being told, you might realize, somehow the show space itself seems to serve as a purgatory, which means if each character does not discover the person they are supposed to be, they cannot leave the place. And this is the beauty in the way numerology is being used on the show. The very moment each character begins to act out the positive aspects that their flaw number represents, their life somehow takes on a dramatic change for the better. Well, if you don't believe me, take a look at this. Throughout the first 5 episodes, first flaw is almost invisible. He has no sense of self. He is sheepish, almost embarrassed whenever he needs to express himself. Now, the funny thing is, whenever he musters up the self-confidence to offer up an idea, this always change up the game plan and produces a plot twist. This is the same for all the other characters. For instance, when second flaw tapped onto her sensitive and intuitive self, she successfully rallied around the other team members and emerged as an impactful leader. Same as for third flaw, fourth flaw, and seventh flaw, and so on. And in fact, the 2 characters who failed to do this ended up in doom. So, did Netflix secretly hire a numerologist to create this Korean drama? Think about it. This show already has obvious references to multiple philosophies, such as dystopian social survival theory, capitalism, power dynamism, the mathematical Fibonacci sequence. It should then be no coincidence that each character might also be created based on numerological principles. Now, do you agree that numerology was indeed used to create the 8th show? Tell me what you think in the comments below.